Now going to begin. My name is Allison Springer, and I as well am a member of this incredible area, Calgary Skyview, and I want to personally welcome all of you here tonight to the Calgary Leadership Forum debates. This is an important moment, and oftentimes we often think that maybe change doesn't make a difference. But how many of you have one of these at home? It's a remote control. And the purpose of a remote control is to change the channel if there's something that you don't like to see. Click, you change it. Well, I believe as well, it's moments like this upcoming election, we also have that same kind of power that is in our hands. And this is called voting power. And we can create change, the change that we want to see in our city, the change that we want to see as well in the nation of Canada, and as well for this incredible area of Northeast Skyview. One of the reasons why I've been a part of this organization, the Calgary Leadership Forum, has been because it's about helping the people of the city be informed, especially when it comes to voting. And so it's this leadership forum that is hosted and is putting on this debate so that you don't just vote ignorantly, but that you vote having the information that you need. And I know a lot of people are undecided right now, and so that's why this is so important and so vital, and I'm so thankful that all of you have come out here tonight, because we're going to see some significant changes, and as well, just seeing the city of Calgary become a better place, and we get to be contributors of that greater difference. Tonight, our moderator for this event is Brian Lee. Now, for the past 5 years, he has been involved with the Calgary Leadership Forum, and he's become the gold standard for well-organized, independent, nonpartisan debates and forums at every level of public discourse. To moderate today's Skyview event, I am pleased to introduce to you a former elected representative at the civic and provincial level, an author and professional speaker in the field of healthcare, customer satisfaction, and a great friend and mentor of mine. Would you please welcome the founder of the Calgary Leadership Forum, Brian Lee.
I'm afraid what's going to happen is you're going to change your channel when she leaves the stage. Well, candidates, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Fifth Estate, I want to welcome you to day 58 of the 42nd general election of the longest election campaign in the history of Canada. It's very exciting for me to moderate this event. This is our third of 10 debates. And looking out at this positive, innocent, cute audience reminds me of when I was asked to speak to the Ladies Auxiliary of the Historical Society of Balzac, Alberta. I was so excited to be asked to speak for the first time. I drove out, I was practicing my speech in the car. I arrived, the chair lady came up to me. She said, she was so pleased, she said, "Welcome, Mr. Lee. Because you're speaking today, all 7 of our members have showed up." I gave my speech, only 4 or 5 fell asleep. They passed the hat, as we will, and afterwards she was so excited, she came up to me, "Mr. Lee, do you realize because you came and spoke today that next year we can afford a good speaker? So possibly next year you can afford a good moderator." Well, ladies and gentlemen, elections matter. Let's just look at the last week. We've now had 2 leaders' debates in English-speaking Canada, one in Calgary, one in Toronto on Monday night, a debate in Quebec, and at the moment the polls are in a dead heat. And for those of you who think that Calgary is going to be taken for granted about the outcome, just remember it was just a few months ago that our entire province and the country was shocked by the dramatic change in political government. Elections can be very close. I can recall when I was in City Council, I was asked to support a candidate running for MLA. I gave his nomination There was 1,500 people packed a high school in southeast Calgary. 2 candidates, it was very close. Finally the vote was in. They counted it up many times because they knew it was going to be so close. One of the candidates was Gordon Trigg, some of you know Gordon. And when the vote came in, the opposing candidate had 747 votes, and Gordon Trigg won with 748 votes. A 1 vote difference. And I went to the victory party that night, and everybody I met said, you know that 1 vote? That was me. So ladies and gentlemen, that 1 vote may be you, and this 1 constituency could make the difference when you've got a dead heat in all the polls. So history is very much alive in our time. When you think about it, what's more important than the federal government? They decide our taxation and how much money is left at the end of the year. They decide our quality of life. They make decisions about how we appear on the world stage. What's more important than those decisions? So I'm honored that you joined us this evening for this historic debate. So, elections matter, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a time of the year when we take back our power from the candidates and from the MPs, and we decide who we're going to give it back to. And we have 6 of the 7 candidates here this evening. May I introduce them to you? Representing the Liberal Party of Canada, Darshan Kang. Would you like to stand and be recognized? Representing the New Democratic Party, Sahashabir Singh. Speaking for the Green Party, candidate Edward Reddy. Representing the Democratic Advancement Party, Stephen Garvey. Representing the Independent Communist League, Joseph Young. And representing the Marxist-Leninist Party, Daniel Blanchard. Now, I would like to make a comment that the representative of the Conservative Party is not here this evening. Just for the record, I want to honor our organizer, Allison, who just spoke to you. She called him at least 7 times. She visited the campaign office. I called him twice, and we were never once told that he was not coming. Now, I will tell you that the Calgary Leadership Forum believes that an important democratic tradition in Canada is that of a political debate, and that every candidate ought to stand up for what they believe in and face the electorate. So we're very disappointed in the way it was handled, and we're disappointed that the candidate is not here this evening. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, you matter. What is your vision for the future of this city and this country? You're going to have a chance through your questions this evening to express your concern. Now, a little bit about the Calgary Leadership Forum. You all have the brochure. We do 3 things. We do public debates. I think this is our 16th debate in 5 years. We hold private receptions with thought leaders, and we do policy papers. And if you're interested in having a say, please fill out the form and join us. We'd love to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we begin?
Yes.
Bob Edwards, that great Calgarian, said a long time ago, a little learning is a dangerous thing, but a lot of ignorance is just as bad. So we're here to banish ignorance. 2, allow me to review the rules for tonight. Candidates will have an opening statement for 4 minutes. There will be a closing statement for 2.5 minutes each, and they'll be asked questions. They'll have 1 minute to answer each question. There'll be no rebuttal to those questions. We have a seasoned veteran of the Calgary Leadership Forum, and that is our timer, Marika Knipscher. Marika, would you please stand? So candidates, listen very carefully. At 3 minutes, she's going to stand and hold the yellow dollar store bag. She'll sit at 3:30. And at 4 minutes, you'll stand and hold the red card. And at 4 minutes, you'll exit stage left. There's a microphone here if you want to speak from here. There's microphones there. Candidates, do you have any questions? All right. So the speaking order, we drew for speaking order. So just a refresher that whoever goes first for the opening statement will go last for the closing statement. And for the questions, we're going to rotate through. So for the first opening statement for 4 minutes, would you please welcome, representing the Green Party of Canada, Edward Reddy.
First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and to the candidates who do actually decide to show up. I want everyone to give a round of applause for their attendance here tonight. My name is Ed Reddy. I am a resident of Calgary Skyview. I've been living in Calgary since 1996. Prior to moving to Calgary, I was in the Canadian Armed Forces for 10 years, and I served overseas on various missions, and quite immensely enjoyed my time in the Army. Since coming to Calgary, I've become a father, a grandfather, and I'm currently working for a large oil and gas company in downtown Calgary. A lot of you think the Green Party is an environmental party, but it's actually an old European party that is based on a collaborative approach to government, which means that we're really designed for proportional representation. We're not mostly environmentally focused, we're actually socially focused, where we focus first on people and the policies around to help Canadians. Next to that, we believe largely on sustainment of the environment. It's not that we're against developing the oil sands, is that we're all for sustainment of the development. That we want these resources to last a long time, and we want them to last for generations. We have lots of policies that are family focused. For example, we believe in a national pharmacare program, and as we get older, we believe there should be a program in place so that you can also get care and assistance at home. We believe for post-secondary education, tuition should be free. You know, there's other European countries that have experimented with this notion of free tuition for post-secondary, and it actually is quite beneficial for the economy because a large portion of the population becomes highly educated, and we reduce the financial barriers that currently exist for a lot of our post-secondary education because it's immensely expensive. The Green Party also has concerns with several bills that were passed lately, especially with regards to immigration and refugees. We do not like Bill C-24, which for a lot of people with dual citizenship makes you a second-class Canadian, and that is un-Canadian. That is not fair, and we want that repealed. As well as Bill C-51 is a major concern for us. Bill C-51 places a lot of power into the hands of our secret police, and therefore the question comes up, who polices the police? For the Green Party, we want to also repeal Bill C-51. We're also concerned that the Canadian government isn't doing enough to help the current refugee situation in Syria, and that the government needs to be doing more to expedite those who are in need of a new home, that Canada should be that home. Years ago, Canada was known as a place to go for refugees, and not just for yourself, but for your family. Now, if you come to Canada, you cannot take siblings with you. It is harder to get your parents over. It's harder to bring your brothers and sisters over. And we also believe that is also not fair. If you are a former Conservative voter, the Green Party is also very fiscally conservative with a strong focus on small business. If you are a small business owner, that is a major program for the Green Party to provide support for small business. Thank you.
our second candidate is coming up, just a reminder that in the Calgary Leadership Forum brochure, there's a card. If you would like to ask a question, if you'd like to print that question legibly here, after all the opening statements, we'll be collecting those cards. So just a reminder, looking forward to your question. Representing the Young Communist League candidate, Joseph Young.
My name is Joseph Young. I'm the candidate of the Communist League, which is a workers' party. I work at the Deerfoot Mall Walmart. Working people worldwide are being hard hit by the crisis of the capitalist system. There is a deepening economic depression, unemployment is growing, wages are stagnant. The disaster in Greece shows us the future. There are a growing number of wars, particularly in the Middle East, where the imperialist order that was imposed after the Second World War is falling apart. The cause of the crisis for working people in the world is the profit-driven capitalist system. It has to be replaced by socialism. Workers need to organize a labor party based on the unions to fight for our needs and to take political power out of the hands of the rich. The Cuban Revolution is the outstanding example of what working people need to do. And we call for the end of the US embargo on Cuba and the return of Guantanamo to Cuba. A major question for workers is safety on the job and the environment. The profit drive of the employers is putting our lives more and more in danger. 2 years ago, 47 people died in Lac-Mégantic in Quebec when an oil train exploded. There have been several other major rail disasters since then. It's the government and the bosses, the employers, who are responsible for this. But they're trying to frame up two rail workers, Thomas Harding and Richard Lebris, who are facing 47 counts of criminal negligence causing death. But it's not them who are responsible. Among other things, it was the federal government that allowed a 72-car oil train to be operated by one person, 72 cars, and I could say a lot more. So we're calling for dropping the charges against these two men. A year ago, Colton Crowshoe, an 18-year-old Aboriginal man, was found murdered in a pond in Abbeydale. On September 13th, Victoria Crowshoe, an Aboriginal woman, was found murdered near Pincher Creek. Now, in the United States, there's a movement that has developed called Black Lives Matter. And this movement has pushed the police back, charges have been laid, and there have been actually fewer assaults against blacks because of this. We think this is an example of what we need to do here. So we joined Colton's father, Jimmy Crowshoe, in demanding police action in solving his son's murder. Right here in the Northeast, on March 16th, Anthony Heffernan, a young electrician, was shot and killed by the police who broke down the door of the Super 8 motel where he was staying. He was unarmed. The police who did this must be charged. I agree also that Bill C-54 and Bill C-51 must be repealed. They are attacks on our democratic rights. And finally, the government should not interfere in how women dress, including if they want to wear a niqab. The government is doing this to try to divide working people, and we say it's the woman's decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Our third candidate tonight, representing the New Democratic Party, Sahashabir Singh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sahashabir Singh, and I am your NDP candidate for Calgary Skyview. First and foremost, I want to thank the Calgary Leadership Forum for organizing this important debate for our community. So before I start with my speech, I just want to speak from the heart and let you guys know why I stood up. In 1999, there's a bunch of youth that got together and we started the very first Sikh youth group in Calgary. We wanted to do something for the community. We wanted to represent the community and do good for the community. So we started different initiatives like you do at that young age, like food drives, clothing drives. We started the very first, the Sikh Nugget movement that was started with Sikh Temple at that time. Ever since then, I've had a passion for community service. I've been working with the community. I've been a liaison for my community to many other communities. I organized a small group and I went to Africa twice to work with the people there. So even though I'm a small businessman, I have my own business, my passion has always been in community service. Right now I sit on various nonprofit boards and I'm a spokesman for the Calgary Sikh Temple. So I was born and raised in Calgary, and I love the diversity for our community. I'm running because as a small businessman, a community leader, and the father of a young son, I believe that Canadians deserve better from their government. I believe the residents of Calgary Skyview need a member of parliament who will listen to their concerns and take them to Ottawa. While out door knocking, voters are telling me Stephen Harper's plan just isn't working. People in Calgary Skyview tell me they are working harder but cannot seem to get ahead. They think it's time for a government that shares their values and that will work to build a stronger middle class. This election, there is a clear choice for change. Tom Mulcair and the NDP are that change. Tom Mulcair is an experienced leader with a concrete plan. As someone who has worked extensively with the youth in our community, I know that they are worried about finding good, paying, family-supporting jobs. The NDP will create opportunities for training 40,000 young people through NGOs and private partnerships. Skyview is home to many hard-working small business people. I am one of them. We will kickstart the economy by cutting the small business tax rate from 11% down to 9%. This will help the sector that provides over 80% of new jobs in the private sector in Canada. Childcare in Calgary costs on average over $1,200 per month for a toddler. The NDP have committed to an affordable childcare plan that will create 1 million spaces in cap fees for parents at no more than $15 per day. The NDP also have a strong plan to improve healthcare. We will hire and train more family doctors and nurses. We will implement a pharmacare program and reduce wait times for home care and long-term care. The NDP has also announced a pharmacare plan no Canadian should have to decide between food or medicine. Tom Mulcair will work with provinces to bulk buy medicines to reduce costs for people. Canadians deserve to retire with dignity. We will work with provinces to strengthen the Canadian pension plan, raise the GIS to lift 200 seniors out of poverty, and return the OAS eligibility down to 65. Thank you for listening. I look forward to the conversation this evening, and once again, thank you all.
Just in case you're feeling lonely. Representing the Democratic Advancement Party, will you please welcome Stephen Garvey.
I'm delighted to be here. I would like to thank the Calgary Leadership Forum for putting this event on, the candidates that showed up. Also, most importantly, all the people that showed up to participate. Without you, this event would have no meaning. Also, the journalists, thank you for coming. I'm Stephen Garvey, leader of the Democratic Advancement Party of Canada. I'm running in Calgary Skyview Northeast, as everyone knows. The Democratic Advancement Party is fiscally responsible and democratic progressive. We are driven by a need to serve the common people. We have no strings attached. This is a grassroots party that's made up of Canadians from all across the spectrum, and we are growing as we speak. The Conservative candidate who's not here would likely tell you that they're fiscally responsible, that they have strong leadership, and that they have a vision for our future. I would say the contrary. We can see what's going on in the economy, the recession, the hard-hit recession we had. Since Harper's been in, there's been 8 consecutive deficit governments. Under Harper, the exports in Canada are the lowest under any PM. Prime Minister Harper is the first Prime Minister in Commonwealth history to have a vote of non-confidence. If I turn to NDP, we hear about spending. We want to raise the minimum wage to $15. But what about, and then we hear about small business. How's that going to impact small business, I want to know? What about Darwinter, who owns an auto shop? Or Ron, who owns a local bakery? How are they going to manage at $15? And I'd like to point out that NDP also supported the free trade agreement with South Korea. What about the jobs there? Where are they going? The wage over there is $1. How's that helping our economy? And then I look at the Liberal candidate, my Liberal friend here. What about that party? Is it driven by power? Do they know where they stand on issues? What about Bill C-51? Supporting Bill C-51, voting for it, and then this vague thing about amendments. These are issues that we need to deal with. The economy is in rough shape. The Democratic Advancement Party is here to work for the people, and that's the only reason we're doing it. Voting for me is voting for yourself, voting for your children, voting for the future of Canada. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome representing the Liberal Party of Canada, Darshan Kang.
Thanks, Mike. First of all, I'd like to thank the Leadership Forum for organizing this debate tonight, and thanks for the candidates for being here today. My name is Darshan Khan, and I'm your Liberal candidate to Calgary Skyview. For nearly 7 years, as your MLA, I have had the honor and privilege of serving the people of Calgary this riding. During this time, I have worked hard to be your strong voice in the legislature and bring about the real change. I have been at the front line, helping to unite families, strengthen our infrastructure, and providing the opportunity for your stories and challenges to be heard by this government. As an MLA, I have a track record of serving the people of this riding with honesty and integrity, and we have accomplished a great deal. We were on the front lines. I was on the front lines fighting the building of the Rancher's Beef Slaughterhouse on the north fringes of Calgary. We were able to get $10 million funding for the Gender Center from the provincial government. And we were on the front lines fighting for the airport tunnel. I was the only voice in the legislature who was in favor of it. And thank God we got it done. Today, after 7 years of being your MLA, I'm here to ask you for your vote to become your member of parliament. As your MP, I will continue to work tirelessly for the people of this riding. And I want to be an MP because I believe that this country needs a new direction. And the time is now for change. We need a real economic plan. We need a better approach to immigration and the citizenship. We need more transparency, fairness from our government. During these tough economic times, we need a government that will invest in Canadians. This means spending on infrastructure, a tax break for the middle class, investing in jobs for our young people. Through this, we can create a robust economy and we have a more prosperous country. We also need to stand up and repeal Bill C-24 and amend Bill C-51 and take back our rights as citizens. A Canadian should always be a Canadian. That's what Justin said last night, and that's what I believe in. The government should not be able to take your citizenship away from our immigrants who are the engine of this country. We need to take better care for our seniors, and we need to restore the age of eligibility of benefits to 65. We need to restore pensions that have been cut off by this good government. We need to increase guaranteed income supplement for lower income seniors. Most importantly, we are tired of the scandal and we need a government that can be trusted again, and we need better respect for our democracy, our ideals, and we need honesty and integrity from our elected officials. To make these changes, the people of this riding deserve a strong voice in Ottawa. With your support and help, we can make this country and this riding a better place to live. Thank you very much.
Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, our candidates are speaking well. If you have a question, put it on the card. We'll be collecting them in 5 minutes. The final speaker for our opening remarks, would you please welcome Daniel Blanchard, representing the Marxist-Leninist Party.
Thank you to the Calgary Leadership Forum for having me. My name is Daniel Blanchard. In this election, the Marxist-Leninist Party of Canada is fighting for the political empowerment of Canadians so that they can be the one to make the decisions that affect their lives. Our candidates are working people and youth, like myself, who call for a new pro-social direction for the economy, the renewal of the political process in Canada, a modern constitution, and an anti-war government. The entire country would like to see us defeat Harper in Alberta and the others who've been running Canada. But we should have no illusions about the other parties who say, vote for us. If we are only elected, we will solve all your problems. You all probably remember that when Harper was in opposition, he said that the Conservatives would restore accountability and integrity to the increasingly corrupt system. People tell us that none of the so-called major parties are dealing with their concerns. We will have to work to hold to account any government that forms, but defeating Harper will open up a path for working people to go further in fighting for a pro-social agenda. The people of Calgary Skyview hate being reduced to spectators and are eager to articulate their own independent demands and aim for the country. Everyone wants change. Unless the people of Calgary Skyview occupy the space for change with their demands, someone else will. To vote Marxist-Leninist in this election is a vote to demand democratic renewal. It is a message to the so-called major parties we want to stop paying the rich and increase funding for social programs. It is a vote to demand an anti-war government. Unless workers, seniors, and youth make a concerted effort to keep the establishment parties out of power and put worker politicians who are active in working for democratic renewal into power, the crisis will continue to be sorted out in a manner that favors the rich, not the people. I'm calling on Canadians to make their voices heard by voting Marxist-Leninist on October 19th. Thank you very much.
Six candidates, all speaking well for themselves. Let's acknowledge them all with a round of applause. So we have two things we need to announce. I'm going to change the channel back to Allison. Would you please welcome our organizer for this evening, Allison Springer. Yes, Allison.
Right, all of you have received a bulletin when you came in. And inside there is a card. And so this is a time I'm going to ask our volunteers to help out and collect some of the cards. On those cards, if you have any questions for the candidates, we want to hear from you. And so if you have a card with a question that's ready, you can just raise it up right now, and they will come around and collect it. So just keep it up and they will collect it. If you need a pen and there's a question that comes to your mind right now, you can put up your hand, and as well our volunteers have some pens and they will hand out a card or pens. I know we have some people just recently coming in, and so if you need any of that information or any of those tools or resources, they will hand it out to you. As was mentioned earlier, this Calgary Leadership Forum, it really is a think tank. You know, even though I really appreciate having our politicians here and people that are wanting to serve in that manner, but you know that we can't leave the affairs to the city to one person. But we also have to be engaged and actively involved in the leadership in the city and the direction that it is heading. And that's what the Calgary Leadership Forum is. It's a nonpartisan group that gathers together and as well sets up different events where we get to hear from the different leaders in our nation and as well in our city. And from there, being able to direct and as well come up with some solutions to the problems. I know there's different events that I've witnessed on TV and I'm like, oh, I've got an answer for that. How many people have ever been there? All they need to do is ... Right? How many people have been there in that place? A number of us have. And that's what the Calgary Leadership Forum is all about. It's a place where you can voice your concerns and as well help shape and govern the city of Calgary. The reason why I, a number of years ago, got involved in the Calgary Leadership Forum was because I personally am a youth worker in the city. I'm a youth speaker and I speak in the junior high, senior high schools, and I've been working with youth for over almost 20 years now, but especially in the east end of Calgary. And one of the things that I personally saw when it came to leadership in our city is that some of the decisions that were made weren't necessarily in favor for the upcoming generation, for your children and as well your children's children. And that was the reason why I personally got involved in the Calgary Leadership Forum, because I believe that we have a voice and there's perspectives that many of you here in this room bring that would not be said or would not be represented if you were not present. And so that's why I became a part of this forum. Now, this leadership forum, one of the things that they do is we organize debates like this one tonight. And the whole purpose is, as well, is to inform the city, to let them know what is going on. I remember one of the years that I was involved with one of the elections, we had set up, the Calgary Leadership Forum had actually set up a whole website with all of the school board trustees, with all of the different candidates, the MLAs, and with information about what their policies are, what they believed, and as well how they answered various different questions. The purpose of that was oftentimes we don't have enough time to go and find out about information from the candidates. And so what the Calgary Leadership Forum did is they put this one website here where people all over the city can then tap in at a click of a button and get the information that they need so that they can vote well informed. Does that make a difference? That's what this organization is about. And so what's going to happen right now is, in order for any of this to happen, finances is significant. We're all volunteers organizing this, putting this on. And it does cost money even to rent this hall, this facility, some of the marketing material that went out, all of that has a cost. And what we would like is for all of you to as well contribute to the change and as well leadership in this city. Maybe you have $5, $20, whatever you might have. But we have some people right now, some ushers that are going to be coming forward. And as you have your questions, and as well, any finances, any way that you're able to help facilitate the expenses for organizing this debate, and as well so that we can keep moving forward and speaking into the issues that are related to our city as the people speak. So I'll have the ushers. Yeah, if you can. All right, so they're going to pass those around. And again, if you have any questions, you can put that, just pass it down. You're just going to pass it down the aisle. If you have any questions, if you could put it inside the bucket, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Again, together, we're making a difference in the city. If you would like to be involved with the Calgary Leadership Forum, again, there is a sign-up sheet in the back. And as well, for membership, all it costs is $20. And we do have some membership cards. If you would like to get an email about what other events are involved or are coming up, we have all that information for you. But Calgary Skyview, thank you so much for being a part of the change that we need to see in our city today.
All right, folks, we're going to start in about, after we collected the questions and the path's gone around, we'll start in about 4 minutes. Candidates, if you'd like to come and say hello to the candidates right now, that's fine. Don't go far, because more questions here. We have more people to collect the questions, please. All right. So, we're going to begin with 3 questions that were sent to the candidates in advance, and then we'll be taking the questions from you this evening. Now, when I was a member of City Council, you could ask questions as long as you wanted, and then you could speak for 5 minutes. When I was in the Alberta Legislature, you could ask questions as long as you wanted, and you could speak for 30 minutes. You know what I learned? You can say everything you needed to say in a short period of time. So, each candidate is going to receive 1 minute to answer the question, and what's going to happen is our timer, Marika, will stand at 1 minute and hold the red dollar store bag. All right. So, Stephen will let you lead off with the first question, and then you can just pass it down. First question is, what is your party's policy regarding the refugee crisis?
Democratic Advancement Policy is in its foreign policy at www.democraticadvancementparty.ca. In our refugee policy, we allow for flexibility, and also flexibility in the number of refugees that can be let in, depending on the urgency and the crisis of the situation. So in the context of Syria, for example, we as a party believe that at least 20,000 refugees should have been accepted by now. And I have to stress that it depends on the urgency and the crisis. Canada, under the Refugee Convention, has an obligation internationally and with our partners to allow refugees in. This is a human right, and this is what we stand up for. In addition, the Democratic Advancement Party supports pursuing other means to helping refugees. We don't only have to allow them in, like the NDP leaders say, let in 100,000 when we're in a recession. We can help bordering countries take more refugees as well. Thank you very much.
The cause of the refugee crisis in Syria is the defeat of the uprising of the people against the regime of Bashar al-Assad. We need to demand an end to the brutal assaults of the Assad government and other enemies of the working people in the region. The most effective force fighting against Assad and the Islamic State are the Kurdish people. Workers around the world need to support the Kurd struggle for national rights and a homeland. The Canadian government is complicit in the assaults against the Kurds by the rulers of Turkey. We should demand Ottawa withdraw its troops from Syria, from the Middle East, and accept many more refugees from Syria. We need to support equal rights for all refugees and immigrants. Recently, many immigrant workers, part of the temporary foreign workers program, were forced to leave. We should oppose all deportation.
As a former United Nations soldier, the refugee crisis we have emanating from Syria is complex. It is very diverse. It is somewhat tribal-based, and the divisions that's caused these issues go back hundreds and some a couple of thousand years based on these same divisions. The current Conservative government's response to allowing, I think, just over 2,000 Syrian refugees is abhorrent. The Green Party believes that we should have a response similar to the Vietnamese boat crisis we had back in the late 70s and early 80s. I'm not sure how many here you remember that, but I do. And we allowed in tens of thousands of basically environmental and economic refugees from Vietnam into Canada, and we allowed them to settle across Canada. And the Green Party believes we should have a very similar response. We should allow these people in, cut down the bureaucracy and red tape, allow them in, and stop the fear. Thank you.
Thank you. Canadians can and must do more to help Syrian refugees who are running for their lives. We need to do what is right and show true leadership during this humanitarian crisis. The Conservative government has reacted slowly and dropped the ball. the Liberal Party is calling on the government to directly sponsor and immediately accept 25,000 refugees from Syria. And under a Liberal government, we would also work with private sponsors to take in even more refugees. And by investing $100 million, we will increase refugee processing and settlement services. We have a responsibility to assist in this refugee crisis. With the Liberal government, we will show true critical spirit and leadership during this crisis to help those who need it the most. Thank you.
The stance of the Marxist-Leninist Party of Canada is that no one is illegal. We're in favor, well, we have an obligation to grant asylum to all Syrian refugees. Also, we have an obligation to stop exacerbating the conflict in Syria and Iraq. The stance of the Harper government is to continue to bomb Syria and Iraq. So this is what is creating this refugee crisis in the first place. The conflict there is a direct result of the geopolitics of Canada and the United States and other Western powers. Well, coming from my grandma on my father's side was actually a refugee in 1947 when the partition of India happened. And my family came here seeking a better life. So I think this is a very personal topic for me. We have committed to appointing a Syrian refugee coordinator and using resources from citizenship and immigration, foreign affairs and other departments to getting, by the end of the year, 10,000 Syrian refugees, and we have a plan for 46,000. We need to increase diplomatic and immigration officials in the region to speed up processing. And we want to do all this with the proper security. I just want to say I'm pretty surprised at Mr. Garvey's tactics using Harper's scaremongering by saying that we want to let everyone in. We all know that this is a tactic of the Conservative government. I guess Mr. Garvey shares more than just his blue color with Harper. But we want to... Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're off and running, ladies and gentlemen. Question number 2. And Joseph Young, you lead off the first one with this question. Canada is technically in a recession. And with a collapsing price of oil and the falling Canadian dollar, Alberta has been losing 1,000 plus jobs a week for 2 years now since oil prices crashed. What is your party's solution to create jobs, revive the economy without adding to the deficit?
It's impossible. Okay. It's impossible to revive the capitalist system of exploitation, which is in the deep-going long-term crisis. Unable to make sufficient profits, the employers have been blowing up balloons of debt which cannot be sustained. The deficit is their deficit. It's not the deficit of working people. We need to fight to defend and improve our wages and working conditions. The union should fight for a massive public works program at union rates of pay. And the work should be useful work. Repairing infrastructure, building hospitals and schools, flood control, and so on. And the work week should be cut with no cut in take-home pay. There is immense wealth. The problem is who controls it. There's more oil being produced than ever, but for the rich it's a curse because they can't make enough profits out of it. Under a government of the workers and farmers, cheap oil would be a boon.
In response to the Alberta situation, 1,000 jobs, actually I think the number's a little higher. We also have a lot of unemployed consultants in Calgary. I think this number's like over 30,000 unemployed consultants in the city alone. The Greens' vision is what's called the green economy, and that is where our principles are pragmatic and simple. And thanks to these other green parties around the world, these core principles have been tested and they work. And we believe if you invest in sustainment of energy, in sustainable resource development and in green technologies. That means shifting away from oil-based technologies to greener technologies while developing sustainment for the existing resources we have, and as well investing in small business. The Green Party wants to lower the tax on small business and provide other programs that give small businesses a leg up, especially in this tough economy. Thank you.
This session is not a technical session to 55,000 people who have lost their jobs in Alberta. It's very, very real. Ask those people who have lost their jobs. Calling it a technical session only shows how disconnected the Conservatives are from Alberta's economy. It is vital to invest in the economy during these tough economic times. Under a Liberal government, we will run a modest deficit of less than $10 billion a year for the next 3 years and balance the budget in 2019. This election is a choice between jobs and growth, or austerity and cuts. Our economic plan includes a child benefit for low and middle income families, a middle class tax cut, increased taxes for the wealthiest 1%, getting our energy to markets, and investment in our infrastructure to create jobs and growth for years to come. Thank you.
Canada needs a pro-social economy. As with every other aspect of the situation right now in Canada, the biggest problem stems from because the people do not have control. The people are not the decision makers. We need an end to neoliberal trade deals behind closed doors, such as TPP and CETA. International trade must be based on mutual trade and benefit. A new emphasis on manufacturing to meet the needs of Canadians needs to be emphasized rather than simply shipping raw resources. Why are we refining here? Why are we exporting raw logs? The list goes on. End to the sell-off and privatization of public assets, and a self-reliant economy that serves the public interest. Thank you. So the second part of this question, what is your party's solution to create jobs and revive the economy without adding to the deficit? I think it's a vital part. The NDP has committed to running a balanced budget. Unlike the Liberal Party, who have actually committed to running several years of deficits, as you've heard from our friend here. The NDP does not believe in leaving a debt to future generations. We will make smart investments and prioritize spending. Here in Alberta, we must diversify our economy. The Conservatives have put all their eggs in one basket and dropped it. People feel like they are working harder but not getting ahead. After 10 years of the Conservative government, 1.3 million Canadians are out of work, 300,000 more than before the recession. We will do better. The NDP has a concrete plan to help the middle class and kickstart the economy. Small business is the backbone of the Canadian economy. The first thing we will do is cut small business tax rate from 11 to 9% to spur on the sector that produces 80% of new jobs in Canada.
Normally at this point, it would be the Conservative candidate's turn, but since he's not here, he forfeits that privilege.
Shame.
Can I get his time too?
Boo!
Kidding. The Democratic Advancement Party supports fiscal responsibility. And this translates into what we call efficient, effective government in the service of the people. Efficient and effective. To create jobs in Alberta, and particularly, because that's what this question is pertaining to, we support greater federal government incentives to set up oil refineries in Canada. Presently, our unrefined oil is being shipped down to the U.S., and with current prices of oil and the current price of the oil and also the cost of shipping it, we're losing 55 cents per liter in revenue for this province. So we support like a 5-year government tax-free plan for the private sector to set up refineries in Alberta. That's really going to help us. Also, we want to shift
the federal public service jobs, the full-time ones, to part-time. That's going to create stability for a lot of families. Thank you.
Question number 3, leading off will be candidate Edward Reddy. The question is this: would you please identify one specific Calgary Skyview constituency issue that you are committed to accomplishing if you are elected, that you are willing to be held accountable for?
The first thing I would do, I was work with the other parties in power and flush Bill C-24 down the toilet where it deserves.
Thank you. There are many issues that are important to this constituency, and I will be a strong fighter for each and every issue. Bill C-24 is a burning issue in this riding, and we will repeal it. I say we will repeal it. Bill C-24 creates 2-tier citizenship. This means that citizenship can be revoked for immigrants and possibly anyone else who might be able to claim citizenship elsewhere. The powers to revoke citizenship under this bill are too broad, and it takes away our right to appeal this decision. All you will get is a letter in the mail from the Minister of Immigration. What will be next? What will they do next? We will have all earned the right to be citizens, and we should not, Mr. Harper or Mr. Shorey, take this right away from us. Exile cannot be used as a punishment. It is unconstitutional. Under a Liberal government, we will make sure that we have an immigration citizenship policy that is fair to all Canadians. Thank you.
As has been said already, the repeal of Bill C-51 and Bill C-24 are tremendously important. But more than that, Canada needs a total democratic renewal of our political process. This means a modern constitution. This means reassessing our democratic institutions so that the people are the decision makers, because until that is the case, nothing's going to get solved. Thank you very much. So Bill C-24, definitely we're going to repeal that, but very importantly as well, Bill C-51, Mr. Mulcair, is the one who stood up against this, against Mr. Harper, and then unfortunately against Mr. Trudeau as well. After speaking about how dangerous this bill was, unfortunately the Liberals voted for it. Mr. Mulcair was very, very against this bill, and he spoke out against it when it mattered. He went to the press, and that's why I'm proud to be supporting the NDP. And that's what you can count on. What we say, we will do. I value my promises, and if I say something, you can bet that I will follow through on it. Thank you very much.
My NDP friend is confused. I don't think he understands the issues. In the big parties, candidates are controlled in that party. They must toe the party line, or they are disciplined or removed. Mr. Mulcair said he would rescind that bill, and then I have him on record across Canada on TV saying he's only going to rescind parts of it. So let's be clear. And the Liberal, Mr. Trudeau supported it, and also he's been very vague on the amendments. So let's be clear, the Democratic Advancement Party, as our signs say on the road, we are clear, just like the Conservatives support those bills, we are against them. You know that. And we will fight to get them out, because they are against everyone in this room, every Canadian. Thank you.
Many workers in this riding, including my fellow workers at the Deerfoot Mall Walmart, make less than $15 an hour, and we do not have unions. There's a growing movement in North America for these demands that are a minimum to meet our needs. We need $15 an hour now, not in 3 years, as the NDP has promised. And unions are necessary so we can act together to defend ourselves against the ruling rich. I don't make promises in my election campaign. The only promise I make that whether or not I am elected, I will fight with my fellow workers for what we need. And our demands are won in the streets, through strikes and our united actions. For example, tomorrow thousands of Quebec teachers will strike for one day against budget cuts. That's an example for us to follow.
Well, thank you very much. We've covered our first pre-selected questions, and now we do want to introduce our question panel. Would they please stand to be recognized? Brian Hodgson and Bruce Lee. And so they have the unenviable task of distilling all of your feedback and asking more questions. Bruce Lee, that name sounds familiar.
How many have heard the name Bruce Lee before? So just so you know, unlike the other Bruce Lee, I was born in the Middle East. Winnipeg. All right, so I'm going to disappoint quite a few people here because your question isn't going to get asked. There were 57 individual questions turned in. Yeah, so give yourselves a round of applause for that. Covering 30 topics. We were challenged to find 10 to be asked appropriate to everybody else. So what I did, where applicable, I combined your questions to make it a question relevant to everybody. There certainly were a lot that were addressed to one candidate in particular. We can't do those because that's really where you want to talk to your candidate after the session. So get up close and personal with them, harass them, harangue them, question them, challenge them, whatever it is you want to do with them. But get your questions answered there, because as we know, you don't always get an honest answer in a public forum, which is why I think we've got some good questions here. So kind of the good news, I always like to say this is the bare knuckle round. I don't have to say that. We've had some pretty aggressive conversations going on here already, so well done, candidates. But I want to raise the energy level just a bit. We've had some very serious pumping of the tables and get out there. I just want to make you feel a little better about what we're going to do for the next half hour or so. So all I need you to do is repeat after me what I say. Will you do that? Just me, Jess?
Yes.
Yeah, so everybody say, I look good.
I look good.
Yeah, with a little more enthusiasm. I feel great.
I feel great.
Not bad. Now turn to one person beside you and say to them, you are so lucky you're sitting with me tonight. And a hug. How nice. So I see 300 committed voters here tonight. Brian, is that the number you're going to use? Which means there's probably 1,200 votes coming out of tonight. Because I'm sure everybody here is going to really support your candidate. So, question number 1. And we're starting this way and working down. Is that what they're doing?
Next is to Darshan.
Okay, so we have the process. Number 1. What do you think of, what is your response to when a candidate does not turn up for a public advertised forum?
Oh my God. I think only the candidate can answer that.
Can you speak in the mic?
Sorry, I think the only candidate can answer to that question. So I cannot speak for the candidate who doesn't show up.
This is the third election that I've run in against Darshan, against David Shori. I've never met him. Doesn't show up. This isn't David Shori as an individual, though. The Conservatives never show up for any of these sorts of things. They never show up for a forum. And that reflects the contempt that they have for the voters and for the people. Thank you very much.
Good.
So I think the only person that can answer that question of why they didn't show up is the candidate himself. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be getting that answer anytime soon or in the future. But I just think it shows a lack of caring for what you guys want, the people in the riding. So I think it's very disappointing.
that we don't assume. There could be a personal crisis in Mr. Shorey's life. You know, just give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and I encourage the electorate to do their homework and find that out. Thank you.
Although he could have at least communicated something, or I don't know. Anyway. Question number 2 deals with proportional representation. Sorry, Ed, did you finish? No. I'll watch closer now.
Okay. What could I possibly say that everyone else here isn't thinking tonight? Just disappointing. Okay.
People asked. Number 2 has to do with proportional representation. It says to all candidates, a party that can win 39% of the popular vote gets 54% of the seats in Parliament and gives the party 100% of the power. What do you think about that?
Proportional representation would be a tremendous step forward. It would allow many parties to have representation and a more accurate representation of the popular vote. But we do need to go further than that. We do need a complete democratic renewal of our anachronistic political system. So I'm with my friend here. I think it's important. I think it gives you a better idea of what people want, and I think it represents the population much better. So I think it's a very, very positive step forward.
The Democratic Advancement Party supports proportional representation. The reason that we do, it will ensure that a majority government is truly a legitimate majority government. Under first past the post, we can see with the current federal government, it had minority support of the population and then received the majority, and we're paying the price, all of us. Also, I want to inform everyone that proportional representation is not a panacea to our democratic problems. It is a good step forward, so we have to keep working, and there's other reforms that the Democratic Advancement Party supports. Thank you.
Proportional representation doesn't address the root of the problem. We live in a society that's divided into classes. The vast majority are working people. There's a tiny minority of rich, and they are the ones who rule. And that's not going to be changed through elections. The way it's changed is through mass struggles, movements of people to win their rights and their needs, and to overthrow those who are in power, and put in power a government of the workers and the farmers. And that's what we're trying to contribute to putting forward a Labour Party based on the unions that can fight for this perspective.
Proportional representation has been one of the Green Party's pillars of our platform since I remember the Green Party. And you know, what it represents for Canadians is an opportunity for your voice to be heard. It represents an opportunity for Canada to be governed by different views on governance. Imagine a government where everyone works together and is not adversarial. I mean, that's more Canadian than the current system we have right now, which is very adversarial. One party against the other. And I'd rather just see us all work together as Canadians to help run our country. That's all the Green Party wants. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin has said this will be the last election, first past the post. And proportional representation, I think it reflects the true it reflects the true meaning of what populace wants, what the people want. So, you know, we will, when we're the government, we will have the consultants look into this, and then we will determine what will be the best democratic, system better than the current system. Proportional representation is the reflection of what the true population wants, and that's the kind of government we will have. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And as Alison and Brian talked about, change would be interesting for us. Number 3, what personal qualities do you have that would make you a good representative for this riding?
Well, I think it's thank you for the question. For me, like I said before, the reason why I stepped up in this realm is because my heart has always lied in community service. I think what people forget, because we've been called politicians, but at the end of the day, we're public servants. That's what people have to remember. We're servants for the public. So for me, I think it's important that the person who represents you is someone who listens to what you want, someone who will take your voice to Ottawa. My background has always been community service. I've always had a soft spot for that. That's been my passion. I care about people. I care about making a change, and now it's time to make it on a big level, and I'm ready to do that.
As my signs say, I'm dedicated, committed, hardworking, and I'm from the people. I rode on the National Canadian Rowing Team, so that's a testament to my hard work and dedication. I've been serving the community through the Foundation for Democratic Advancement and other democracy organizations for most of my life. Serving the people is part of me, and regardless of the election outcome, it will continue. It's just part of me. Thank you.
I've worked in factories from all my life. Now I'm working in Walmart, pushing carts. I think I know something about what the life of working people is like. But the thing is, it's not individuals that are going to change it. Like I said, I don't make any promises. I don't say vote for me and I'm going to do it. What I say is we together, working people, fighting, can change things. And that's how change will take place. There are no messiahs. There's nobody who's going to be a savior. But when working people start and act and fight together, we start to realize our own worth and what we can accomplish. And that's what I'm trying to contribute to.
Why I'm running. I have a bit of a story. It was Sunday morning, and I was sitting down watching the news with my wife, and I was complaining about the bills that had just passed, the TPP trade agreement that's going on. There was lots of complaining, and my wife turned to me, well, instead of complaining about it, be the change you seek. And for me, that kind of struck home, and when I was asked to run, I thought I wanted to be the change that I think Canadians seek in our country. So that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to say my record speaks for itself. Even before I was the MLA, I was involved with every community event, volunteering wherever the need arose. And when I was the MLA, I had my door open. I had 24/7 policy, and I'm proud to put my cell phone on my business card so people could call me directly. And people have phoned me 4 o'clock in the morning for help, 11:30 at night. And I came on the weekends, I had my office open on the weekends, and I always fit into my constituent schedule. I didn't fit them in my schedule. So my record speaks for itself.
The reason I'm running, the short answer is we need to defeat Stephen Harper. And the long answer is my party has issued the call for people to become worker politicians. The only way that we're going to get any representation is if the people, if all of you run, if the people themselves run. You know, I'm a working person and I stand on that basis. Thank you.
Question number 4, $15 minimum wage, good or bad? Will $15 minimum wage increase jobs or reduce jobs?
Good question.
The
the Democratic Advancement Party thinks it's very ill advised to be proposing a $15 minimum wage at this time when we're heading into recession and probably deeper recession. It's going to hurt small business. What about the Joe who owns the corner store? What about Mary who owns a hairdresser salon in the riding? Or Mandeep who owns a IT business and he's hiring people? What about them? How paying $15? It's just going to transfer on to the consumer. This is ill-advised, and we don't think it's going to help. It's going to make us less competitive as a country. It's already extremely competitive in the global markets. We're competing against countries that are paying dollar an hour. Thank you.
If the system can't provide a decent living to working people, the system has got to go. And I think I've made that pretty clear that that's my opinion. I mean, $15 isn't even enough, but let's start somewhere because working people need to have what they need to live. And like I said, if it can't do it, it should go. And I think, there is a movement growing in North America. There are more and more protest demonstrations for this, and progress is being made on this. So, yes, I think I made it very clear. I'm for $15 now.
The Green Party wishes to establish a federal minimum $15 an hour wage, but we just don't want to stop there. We also want to ensure that all Canadians have a minimum income that you can live with. I mean, living $15 an hour in Calgary by yourself doesn't get you very much. So the Green Party thinks that in addition to the $15 an hour, there's also minimum incomes that all Canadians should be entitled to. Thank you.
I will just sum it up in one sentence. The NDP's proposed national minimum wage would only help less than 1% of Canadians earning minimum wage, less than 1%. It's just smoke in the mirrors. They just want to get the votes. So, nothing more than that. And the NDP is just tax and spend. Thank you.
A $15 minimum wage would be something positive, a very positive development. It's not the be-all and end-all, but in the short term it is very positive. And I don't think it's fair to blame working people and their wages for small businesses struggling in this economy. Thank you very much. So just to be clear, the $50 minimum wage is for federally regulated programs such as banks and airports. And I think when you're at the airport, I think people deserve a higher living wage, especially since inflation has gone up. And if you remember before in the past, when the minimum wage was increased, it did not collapse our economy. People have more money to spend, they have more money to put back, and it actually helps everyone out. I just want to ask Mr. Garvey, what world economies do you want to compete with? $1 a day economies, $2 an hour, $5 an hour? Like, what are we looking at here? How low are we going to go?
Number 5, what is your party's plan to care for and support Canada's aging population? That includes asthma care, assisted living, pharmacare, seniors.
I actually am working at Walmart because my pension isn't adequate. With both, working at Walmart and my pension, I could get by. But that just is that's a commentary on the kind of pension that working people who work their whole lives, what they get in this country. And I think, as I said, the wealth is there. As I said, the wealth is there. The problem is not that there is not wealth. I mean, there's oil all over the place. but it's the way the system is run, and it's run by the rich. And for the rich, when you get old, they throw you on the garbage dump. You know, you're no longer useful because they can't exploit you, they can't make money out of you. And so, in fact, a few years ago, 15,000 old people died in France during a heat wave. And there were all kinds of air-conditioned places they could have put those people. But the wealthy, they don't give a damn about us.
The Green Party has a two-pronged approach. The first one's a national home care plan, which basically allows, as you retire, that health care can be provided to you in your home. The second part of that is a national pharmacare program. Instead of individuals being stuck with large bills, especially as we get older, with expensive prescriptions, we believe a national pharmacare program where you pay a small dispensing fee is a far more reasonable way to take care of Canadians. Thank you.
First of all, we will restore the eligibility to 65 from 67 for OS and GIS. And we will restore the pension that happened cut by this conservative government for the seniors. And we will increase CPP and GIS for lower income seniors. And we will increase GIS for lower income seniors by 10%. OS and GIS will be indexed. We will have, it will go by CPI or seniors price index. And we will make investments into affordable housing and seniors facilities as part of our infrastructure investment. Thank you.
Our party believes in increasing funding for social programs. We also take the stand that health care is a right. Seniors should have access to health care. Their pensions should not be, ever be, their pensions should never be endangered in any way. And we are against the privatization of seniors' care. It's not a business. Thank you very much. You know, I have a lot of respect for our seniors. Whenever I meet a senior, my head always, you know, lowers and their knowledge and what they've done, what they've accomplished. I think it's very important to realize that when people have been giving taxes to the economy, they've been contributing to the economy, and then we go and do what the Harper government did, and that's cut senior care and the CPP. I think it's very, very bad. The NDP thinks that it's very important that we raise our 200,000 seniors who are affected by the GIS. It's time to raise those seniors who are living in poverty right now. Can you imagine that in this great nation of Canada, we have 200,000 seniors living in poverty? That's a shame. And that's why Mr. Mulcair has promised $400 million be put back into that. We also want to roll back the age from 67 to 65. Thank you.
The Democratic Advancement Party is very troubled with what's going on with seniors now. I'm on the phone almost every week with seniors telling me their stories, their struggles, financial, their health struggles, their dental struggles, and we need to step up. These people have contributed to our economy, they're part of our family, and for this reason, like one big issue we want to support is double pensions. It's really hurting our seniors in the Northeast. These are people that maybe have worked in the Punjab or other parts of South Asia, and then they come here and start a new life, so they have a pension from there and a pension from here, but then the federal government says they can only have one pension. This is unfair, and this is something that Democratic Advancement will oppose. Thank you.
I need numbers behind everybody here. Number 6. If you want to talk about the Arctic Passage, you want to talk about toxins in household products or food, that's okay. The question is, how will you support a green economy and slow down climate change?
How do we support a green economy and
slow down climate change?
change?
You don't talk about the environment in general, that's okay too.
Right. As I spoke earlier, the Green Party's plan on sustainment and development of our natural resources is to shift away from carbon emitting resource development into sustainable green technology. And that alone, I think, is the way forward for Canadians. We can't continually rely on oil. It is eventually going to run out. It is killing us. It is hurting our environment. I'm not sure if you guys remember the snow timber we had last year. I mean, our weather is getting weird. And it's happening so slowly we barely notice. The Greens believe that if we change our economy to that being green focused and with sustainable technologies towards reducing pollution, is the way to help Canada in the future. Thank you.
Canada has lost 71% of its clean market share during the Harper decade. We will invest $200 million more annually to support energy innovation. We will invest $100 million more annually to support clean technology firms. And we will make Canada one of the most competitive tax jurisdictions for investments in clean technology. In 2011, Mr. Harper committed to protecting 10% of Canada's marine and coastal areas, while the United States and the United Kingdom have already reached their targets. Canada has only protected 1.3% of its marine and coastal areas. And the Conservatives have also cut funding for the protection and monitoring of our invaluable freshwater resources. We will launch an immediate public review of Canada's environmental assessment process and replace it with a new comprehensive and fair process. And we will modernize and review National Energy Board. Thank you.
As far as making green advances in our economy, I think at this point the technology exists. No one is unsure about what needs to be done. But once again, the people aren't in a position to make any sort of changes or any sort of decisions about the direction of our economy. So once again, I think this is an issue of vesting sovereignty in the people. I speak to people from the oil patch regularly. They have several ideas about what could be done, but they're not in the position to make those decisions. These are people who work on pipeline crews, people who work on rigs, so the people need to be in the position to make these decisions. Communities need to be in the position to make these decisions. Thank you. So the NDP, we are committed to make great change for the environment. That's one of our key issues. Unlike, I think, under the Conservative government, we've fallen behind the U.S. We've even been slammed by the UN. We have one of the worst records of the world's wealthiest 27 countries, and we are passing on enormous debt to our children, not just an economical debt, but a climate debt. So it's important that we take these challenges on. We can have clean oil. It's possible, but we have to put some effort into it. And as for the Liberals, they talk about wanting a clean environment, but 12 years of majority government, Liberals signed the Kyoto and missed emission targets by 34%. That's not wanting a clean environment, that's saying something and doing something else.
The question is, how do we deal with climate change without slowing down our economy, which is already slow, unfortunately? This is a really difficult question. I don't think there's any easy answer. The Democratic Advancement Party supports federal initiatives and funding for sustainable energies, also research, R&D, and more efficient energy production. But this comes down to us all as individuals. We all need to step up, all Canadians, and do our part, and live a more efficient life. It is through local action and all of us acting collectively that we can make a difference. For example, I grow my own food. It's something I do, and we believe in having a minimal impact when we can. So maybe more education would help, but we can't point our fingers at this and this. We're all contributing to this. Thank you.
It's only working people who have an interest in protecting nature, just as we're the only ones who have an interest in safety on the job. The employers are driven by profit. And profit, what that leads to is you cut corners, people get injured, people die. And what happened in Lac-Mégantic in Quebec is a very, very good example of this. Who allowed a train of 72 oil cars to operate with one person? Why was that train for years parked on a slope above a town where, you know, eventually it just rolled in and it was at 105 kilometers an hour when it hit the center of the town? Why are these tracks with all these dangerous materials going through the towns? In fact, the people of Lac-Mégantic on October 11th are organizing a march, and they're asking that these goods no longer be transported through their town, and that the tracks should be rerouted if necessary, so that won't go on. But it's the profit, that's what drives this.
Excuse me, as the timer, I would like to make an announcement.
Thank you.
All the candidates have come here to give you their viewpoint. That is democracy. I'm hearing a lot of chitter-chatter, and I think the candidates are having perhaps a difficult time getting their thoughts together. I believe it is only in good manners to please be silent and listen to each candidate. You may not care for what they say, but please give them your respect and listen, and please stop your chitter-chatter. Thank you.
Good thing you're not a school teacher and you wrap their knuckles. Number 7, if you want to talk about immigration policy and refugees, that's okay, but the question is, what is your plan to reduce spousal sponsorship wait times to be more compatible to 98 other countries in the world?
So sorry, what was the question? Question?
If you want to talk about immigration policy as part of this, this is okay, or refugees, but it says, what is your plan to reduce spousal sponsorship wait times to be more compatible to 98 other countries?
Well, we just announced the liberal immigration policy day before yesterday, and we're going to double the budget. We're going to double the immigration budget for the family class, immigration processing applications, and to restore the better processing time. And double the number of new applications allowed each year for parents and grandparents from 5,000 to 10,000. Provide greater access to applicants with Canadian siblings by granting extra points under the express entry system. And restore maximum age of dependents from 19 to 22. And this will allow more people to bring in their children into Canada. So we will grant immediate permanent residency to new spouses rather than imposing a 2-year conditional period. This conditional period puts women in very vulnerable position. So they will be able to get their PR status right away when they land here. Thank you.
We support citizenship for everyone who comes to Canada. As I've said previously, our stance is that no one is illegal. And we bemoan the fact that the Harper government is making it more and more difficult for people to come here. Thank you very much. So Mr. Mulcair said it in one of his debates as well, that is, I think that it's very, very important, and I'm also hearing this at the doors, that people do better, right? So people do better when their families are there with them, right? So I think some of these policies that have been put in place by the Conservatives that have made it so difficult for people who are seeking a new home, people who are seeking a better life, people who, like my parents, like some people on the panel, like Mr. Kung, who have come here seeking that Canadian dream, and to make it so difficult, it's completely wrong. We're gonna speed up the process. It's important for us that family reconciliation is sped up. If you make it to Canada, there's no reason why your parents or your children have to wait years and years and years and years for them not to come.
The Democratic Advancement Party is very troubled by this issue. Going door to door, I've met many families. It wasn't a couple of months ago, I met a woman from Africa. She was pregnant and her husband was in another country. And she was in tears and she's been waiting. It's been over 2 years and she's still waiting. She hasn't received responses. This is similar to the refugees, what's going on, the insensitivity to people in need, and that's not Canadian. The Democratic Advancement Party believes this should be a priority. These families need to be united. This is supporting the family unit. So we support 6 months to 1 year wait time to get the spouse in, at least. Thank you.
Those who have come to Canada and are trying to come to Canada are in their vast majority fellow workers who are just trying to improve their lives or fleeing situations of war and so on. So I think we need to have a welcoming policy. I think when people set foot in Canada, they should have the same rights as everybody else. That's it, just the same rights as everybody else. And also, I think there should be no deportations. We should stop this. We should stop this temporary foreign worker thing. We should just let people come here and work and have the same rights as everyone else. And I think in this, if unions are organized, unions that are welcoming to all workers, including immigrant workers, then all our rights will be better defended.
The Green Party believes that we need to get back to the way we used to allow immigrants into our country. And not just that, let them in, but we also have to start addressing the professional trades where if you're a doctor, an engineer, a technician with certain qualifications that are professional service organizations that certify you for work in Canada, we need to press them to allow them, these trades, these skilled laborers, to also practice their trades in Canada. Nothing worse than coming to Canada. Guess what? You can't be a doctor. Oh, by the way, that's another 3 years of school you have to pay for. That should be very upfront when you immigrate to Canada. And we need to start bringing families together. The Green Party wants, when people come to Canada, you come together as a family. Your spouse doesn't get left behind, no one gets left behind. Thank you.
All right. 10 questions, 60 responses. I don't know about you, but my head's kind of hurting. What I found was, and probably the same for you, you may have come here for one question, and as a result of the 10, realize there's a heck of a lot more serious issues that your federal member of parliament will have to decide and work on. There will be a lot of change. I want you to give these candidates a nice round of applause for answering the questions. As you can tell, so many issues, so much potential, so much opportunity for the right person, for the right party. Would you please turn to the person beside you, shake their hand, and say, congratulations for making a difference. Turn to somebody beside you, shake their hand. Finger bump if you want. And with that, I will turn that back to our moderator, Brian Lee.
All right, thank you. So, for closing wrap-up remarks, I'm going to call upon our timer and authentic hall monitor Marika. So they each have 2.5 minutes for closing remarks. Marika is going to stand at 2 minutes and hold the gold bag. She's going to sit at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and she'll stand at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, at which time, holding the red bag, the candidate will be done. Thank you very much, Marika. We're going to go in reverse order for 2.5 minutes. You can either do it from where you sit, or you can come up here. Your choice. Our first closing remark will come from Daniel Blanchard on behalf of the Marxist-Leninist Party.
A vote for the Marxist-Leninist Party is a vote to demand renewal of the democratic system. In this election, we have a lot of work to do. Last election, voter turnout was around 60%, and that's only counting those on the electors list. People are turned off of politics. Many feel that none of the so-called major parties represent what they need and what they want. As it stands, voter turnout has been very low. A large proportion of the voters do not vote, and half is split into 3 camps. The people are reduced to a spectator role of the shenanigans of the major parties. Phone your friends, talk to your neighbors and co-workers, give them an argument not to vote for parties that they don't support and have no faith in, but to use the election to make a clear statement against the pro-war austerity agenda by making sure to defeat the Harper Conservatives. Thank you very much. On October 19th, vote Marxist-Leninist.
Thank you. Closing remarks from the Liberal Party, Darshan Kang, please.
Thanks, Brian. Today you have had the opportunity to hear from various candidates about their visions. Thank you all for taking the time out to be here today. From the Conservatives, we will receive more the same. We will get an economic policy that doesn't work, an unfair immigration policy which is hard on families, more scandals and abuses of power, and Mr. Harper and Mr. Shuri who want to make us second-class citizens. With the NDP, we will have our economy stalled because they do not support our economic development, no pipelines. The NDP do not understand how to get our sources to markets, or how to be fiscally responsible. The NDP have only one policy, tax and spend. And we need a plan to invest in Canada, invest in our future, and this is the Liberal plan. Our country needs a new direction, and under a Liberal government, you will not be considered a second-class citizen. We will work to unify families. Your rights will be protected. And we are giving you more money in your pockets to take care of your loved ones. And middle-class Canadians will see a tax cut. As your MP, I will fight for you day and night, as I did before when I was your MLA. As your Member of Parliament, I will work with you to bring about a better, fair, more open and transparent government, and also honest government. Most of all, I will continue to be a strong voice, an experienced voice in Ottawa, and I will fight for all the important issues. It's up to you to get the vote out, take your family to vote, drag your neighbors to vote, and let's make this community heard again by voting Liberal. And today I'm asking you for your support to be a Member of Parliament and to represent you like I did, like I said, as your MLA. And together we can make this happen and make Canada a great country again. Thank you.
On behalf of the Democratic Advancement Party, Stephen Carter.
Canada is at crossroads. We are facing significant issues on many fronts: economy, social, foreign policy, and on and on. These are serious issues. We need strong leadership, and this is what I'm providing. We've been down the old partisan paths of the blue, the orange, and the red. We know where that leads to. It's time for new change, new vision, new ideas, new people. And that's what the Democratic Advancement Party is providing. A fresh, new platform that's for all Canadians. We stand for justice, fairness, equally for all Canadians. We stand for fiscal responsibility. We stand for a prosperous Canada, a safe Canada. By voting for me, you're voting for yourself. By voting for me, you're voting for your children. By voting for me, you're voting for the future of Canada. Thank you.
On behalf of the New Democratic Party, I call on Skyview Singh.
I want to thank the organizers for hosting this important event, this important debate, and I want to thank all of you for attending. I want to thank the candidates for being here, the ones that showed. After 10 years, Stephen Harper's plan just isn't working. Families are working harder, but falling behind. Stephen Harper promised to clean up the ethics mess in Ottawa that the Liberals left behind. We still have an unelected Senate that is under investigation and under indictment. We need accountability. We need transparency. We need a change. On issue after issue, Mr. Trudeau's inexperience is showing, and it is clear he doesn't have a serious plan for the economy. You want to protect our social services? Remember who gave you billions of dollars of cuts? It was the Liberals. People tell me they want strong representation in Ottawa. I want to take your voice to Parliament and to work on your behalf. The people of Calgary Skyview deserve strong, principled leadership. They see that in Tom Mulcair and the NDP. The NDP has the best chance to defeat the Conservative government and bring change to Ottawa. We have a concrete plan that will help families get ahead. Be wary of these parties that come out of nowhere but promise you the world. Look at the history of a party. Look at what a party can do for you. The NDP stood against Bill C-51, and we continue to say that we will repeal it. We don't stand for second-class citizenship. Mr. Mulcair took a principled stance when it was an unpopular thing. After the Parliament Hill shooting, it was an unpopular thing. That's why the Liberals voted for that bill, and Mr. Trudeau didn't care. He stood for the principled stance. Remember, if you want strong, principled leadership, NDP is your party. I want to say one more thing. People around the world are dying for something that we have, and that's the right to vote. Please, everyone, make sure you exercise that right. And I want to thank you guys for having these debates and for spreading that message. It's very, very important. I'm very proud to be born and raised a Canadian, and I'm very proud that I have that right to vote. Thank you, and welcome.
On behalf of the other Congressman, Joseph Young.
In the Middle East, the only struggle that is showing the way forward is the struggle of the Kurdish people, a people of about 30 million who have always been denied a homeland. But they are the ones who on the ground have been beating back the Islamic State and standing up to the Syrian government. So I think that we all need to support the struggle of the Kurdish people, some of whose compatriots live in Calgary. Secondly, Cuba is the only country in the world where the working people have power. And that's why they've been able to stand up to US imperialism, and they have been able to push them back, and they are now recognized. And that's an example for working people the world over. And we need to support, because the embargo is still there, and it costs Cuba very dearly. The embargo has to be lifted. And the US has to get out of Guantanamo that they've occupied for over 100 years. This is Cuban territory. Also, I think I've spoken a lot about $15 in the union. That's from my own personal experience. But I think this is a very important fight that we all need to support. As working people, we need this. Now, I encourage you to join us in activities to defend our rights and living conditions. This coming Friday, and there's flyers in the back, we're having a meeting on the civil war in Syria and the refugee crisis. You're all welcome to come and continue the discussion there. Also, Monday at 11:45 a.m. at the City Hall, there's going to be a rally and march for missing and murdered Aboriginal women, which is a very